At 30,000 feet, the world felt weightless. The sun spilled through the cabin windows, painting warm gold across sleeping faces. The steady hum of the engines was almost hypnotic, a lullaby of metal and motion. Passengers murmured softly, flipping through magazines, tapping on screens, lost in their own midair worlds. In seat 14B sat Ava Lane, 32, head resting against the window, noise-canceling headphones loosely around her neck. To everyone around her, she was just another traveler, quiet, distant, ordinary. But inside, the silence was heavy. Once, she had flown combat missions for the Air Force. Once, she danced with the sky in an F-18, fearless, fierce, alive. Until the day everything went wrong. The crash. The loss. The vow she made, never again. The cockpit had taken too much from her. She walked away, traded the roar of engines for the whisper of peace. Now she was headed home, trying to forget. But peace, it seemed, had other plans. The intercom crackled. A faint voice came through, strained, uncertain. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there's a pilot, any pilot, on board, please make yourself known." The words cut through the calm like a blade. Murmurs spread. Eyes lifted. Confusion rippled through the cabin. Ava's heartbeat quickened. Her fingers twitched. Every instinct she'd buried clawed its way back. "Not me," she whispered to herself. "Not again." But destiny doesn't ask for permission. It simply calls, and waits to see who answers. Ava's breath caught as the captain's voice returned, this time louder, cracking under pressure. "We're experiencing a critical systems failure. If anyone with flight experience can come forward." The cabin fell into chaos. Gasps. Shouts. A baby crying. A man in the aisle asking questions no one could answer. Flight attendants exchanged terrified looks, their calm unraveling at the edges. Ava closed her eyes, fighting the memories, the cockpit alarms, the shaking controls, the voice of her old co-pilot screaming her name. She couldn't go through it again. But then she saw her reflection in the window, the same reflection she used to see before every takeoff. A soldier. A pilot. A protector. She stood up. One of the attendants rushed over. "Ma'am, please remain seated." Ava met her eyes. "I can fly." The words came out steady, commanding. The attendant froze, then nodded quickly. Moments later, Ava was at the cockpit door. Inside, red warning lights flashed across every panel. The co-pilot was slumped forward, unconscious. The captain was pale, drenched in sweat, his hands trembling over the controls. "Who are you?" he asked. "Ava Lane. Former U.S. Air Force, Tactical Flight Division." Relief flickered in his eyes. "God, thank you," he muttered. She took the co-pilot's seat, her fingers moving over the switches instinctively. The metal beneath her hands felt like memory, alive, familiar. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The plane lurched violently, alarms screaming. "Left engines dying," the captain said. "We've lost navigation." Ava's voice turned sharp. "Then we fly by instinct. You hold steady. I'll handle the rest." Outside, the sky darkened. Clouds rolled like angry waves, swallowing sunlight in seconds. Rain lashed the windows, streaking silver across the glass. Lightning flared, sudden, violent, blinding. The jet shook as if gripped by invisible hands. "Altitude dropping!" the captain shouted. Ava's eyes flicked across the instruments, her mind calculating faster than thought. "Adjust pitch. Balance the thrust. Keep it climbing." She could feel it again, the rhythm of flight, the silent language between pilot and machine. The old instincts hadn't left her. They'd only been sleeping. The captain grunted, fighting the yoke. "Controls are sluggish. Hydraulics are compromised," Ava replied. "We'll muscle it through." Oxygen masks dropped in the cabin. Panic echoed from behind the door, cries, prayers, chaos. But inside the cockpit, Ava was calm. Calm like she used to be before a dogfight. Calm like a storm's eye. "I'm not losing them," she whispered, voice steady. Her knuckles whitened on the throttle. Not again. Lightning struck close, rattling the plane with a deafening boom. The cockpit lights flickered. The captain stared at her in awe. "How are you this calm?" She smirked faintly. "Because I've already lived through worse." The storm screamed, but Ava didn't flinch. Her voice was a blade cutting through the chaos. "Come on, girl," she murmured to the plane. "You've got one more fight in you." The clouds below looked endless. But Ava had never needed clear skies to find her way home. The turbulence grew violent. Trays crashed in the galley, overhead bins burst open, luggage spilling into aisles. Ava's muscles strained as she fought the controls. "We're losing fuel pressure," the captain warned. "Switching to auxiliary," she snapped. The plane tilted, nose dipping dangerously. "Hold on!" The storm clawed at the aircraft, but Ava refused to yield. "There's an airfield 50 miles east," the captain said weakly. "Too far," Ava replied. "We won't make it that long." Her gaze locked on the radar, faint lights flickering near a coastal strip. "We'll land there." "That's not rated for commercial landings," he argued. "Then it's time to break a few rules." She flipped the comm switch. "This is Flight 237. Emergency descent. Requesting immediate clearance." The response crackled through static. "You're cleared, unknown pilot. Godspeed." The words hit her like a pulse of energy. Her breathing steadied. "All right," she muttered. "Let's bring them home." The cabin lights dimmed, oxygen low. Somewhere behind her, a child cried for her mother. Ava clenched her jaw, memories of the last crash flashing before her eyes, the fire, the screaming, the silence after. "Not again," she hissed. "Not this time." The horizon appeared through the chaos, a narrow strip of runway glistening through the rain. "Captain," she said firmly. "Strap in." He nodded weakly. "You've got this." Ava smiled faintly. "I always did." "Altitude 2,000 feet," the captain said. The wind roared, battering the fuselage. "Crosswind strong," Ava muttered. "We'll take it sideways if we have to." Her eyes locked on the runway, a thread of light in a sea of darkness. "Landing gear down." The plane trembled violently, wheels creaking into place. "We're coming in too fast," he warned. "We don't have a choice," she said. "Brace." She angled the nose, adjusting thrust manually, muscles burning. The plane slammed through another gust, nearly flipping. "Hold!" she shouted, teeth gritted. The first wheel hit asphalt, hard. The plane bounced, metal shrieking. Sparks flew. The second wheel touched down, skidding, dragging. The cabin erupted in screams. Ava pulled the throttle back, deploying reverse thrust. Smoke burst from the tires, heat shimmering through the rain. The world shrank to the sound of the engines and the pounding of her heartbeat. Then, suddenly, silence. The jet slowed. Slower. Until it stopped. The captain's voice broke. "You did it!" Ava leaned back, trembling. "We did it!" From the cabin came the sound of sobs, cheers, laughter. A child's voice called out. "She saved us!" Ava removed her headset, tears mixing with sweat. She had promised never to fly again. But maybe she was meant to. The sky hadn't broken her. It had waited for her return. The storm passed, leaving only a pale dawn stretching across the runway. The passengers filed out, faces streaked with tears, whispering, "Thank you," as they passed. Ava stood by the cockpit door, silent, watching each one step into the morning light. The captain approached, voice soft. "You saved 300 lives." She shook her head. "No. They gave me mine back." Reporters swarmed the tarmac, cameras flashing, but Ava walked past them. She didn't want headlines. She wanted peace. At the edge of the runway, she paused, turning to look at the plane, dented, scorched, but alive. Just like her. A little girl ran up, clutching a drawing, a woman with wings standing beside a plane. "This is you," she said shyly. Ava knelt, smiling. You think I have wings? The girl nodded. Angels do. Ava laughed softly. Maybe once. She stood, watching the sunrise break over the horizon. For the first time in years, she didn't feel the weight of the past. She felt light. The sky had tested her, not to punish, but to remind her who she was. As she walked away, a final whisper crossed her lips. Once a pilot, always a pilot. And high above, the clouds parted, as if the heavens themselves saluted her return.